And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename too.
That's true. And we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for...
every episode.
There we go.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
Well, that is still true.
Today is our 2 to the power of 7th episode.
Episode 128.
That's right.
Okay, but why did you say it like that?
Well, because as the skilled developer that I am, it's impossible to pass up any opportunity to express a number as a power of 2.
Huh. I didn't have any issue with it.
Well, what does that say about you then?
Hey, that's some sort of thinly veiled insult on my programming skills?
What do you think?
I think you better enjoy it, because you won't get another opportunity until episode 2 to the power of 8.
Oh, 256? Anyway, today we are here to answer development and design questions about Idle Champions.
However, if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's reenactment, his one-man reenactment of episode 2, episode 4, episode 8, episode 16, episode 32, and episode 64.
Yeah. Episode 2 to the power of 1. That really takes me back.
Oh, I don't remember that at all. Well, I can't even be sure it even happened. I don't know. Anyway, as always, we have... Did we pull forward questions?
We did.
We did.
I
Okay, good. As always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to, and we will answer some of those while we are waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, I do have some updates on items we flagged to get looked at by the dev team. So without any further stalling for time, let's take a look at those. Next tab. Okay. We do actually have a list of items here that were worth mentioning today. One of them was that there were some numerous system-wide performance improvements that went out specifically at this point on Steam and on Epic, and then provided there weren't any major issues with that, they would go out onto the other platforms shortly thereafter. These were some performance improvements that Jarrett worked on probably about a month ago. He spent several weeks looking at performance improvements. Due to just the concern that because of how wide-reaching they were, that they might have some other impacts. We didn't push them out until now because we had went through some thorough testing, and we just didn't want to put them out at times when they potentially could cause some issues. So those are out on Steam and Epic, and we are watching to make sure that we didn't introduce anything that would cause an issue there. But provided nothing props up with that, those will also go out onto all of the other platforms very shortly. Additionally, we have an improvement on the pips, as was mentioned in the last episode with the pips that Justin and I had. Look, we got pips. Yep, those pips, there was commented, of course, that seeing the gilded indicators was actually quite difficult, so those have been improved. And what else do we have here? Yes, the Potion Manager now also properly supports saving familiars with formations, which apparently it wasn't doing before. So, a handful of items there. I don't have the whole in-progress list, of course, because it has gotten quite large, and we don't have any announcements. So let's move on to leftover questions from last week's show. All right, first question from last week is from Cyclops. Asking why not offer toggles that allow people to add more information to the thumbnails.
This is in the champion search.
The champion search thumbnails. Probably also the champion swap thumbnails.
Yeah.
It would be far more useful if you had the stats down the left and the top could hold the race, gender, alignment, class, role, age stuff.
Yeah, so this is a good question. And I mean, the answer is pretty straightforward. I think, well, to me at least. We don't really want default UI in the game to look like, old school WoW rating add-ons, where you're just kind of looking at a whole bunch of icons and boxes and bars and stuff, and you can't really see what's going on in the background. With that said, this does say, why not offer toggles to have those, and I could see that happening down the road. But sort of as the default behavior, we didn't want to overwhelm or have a whole bunch of stuff there that would just muddy the waters. We wanted to try and make it look as clean as possible, so that it's sort of easier to understand what's going on there. Yeah, I mean, down the road, could some of that stuff be useful and be done in toggles? Sure. We just have to kind of balance the complexity of how we would offer those toggles and what they would show versus kind of the amount of time it would take to implement them and whether they would be sort of widely used. So maybe down the road someday we could do something like that, but I wouldn't expect that anytime soon.
Fair enough. Next question. This one is Dilettante FTW.
For the win.
Asking, can we get an in-game notice when we are not playing in the current version? The current notification method of stuttering is probably suboptimal.
Yeah, I don't know about that stuttering method. We should probably take that out.
I don't think that's a method per se. That's a bug that's occurring because something's not loading right. Is that?
I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I think the idea of having some sort of pop-up that says like, "Hey, this client has been updated to reload, download the new version, whatever, to get the latest data," I think that makes sense.
I like it.
I mean, there's kind of two parts to that, right? Because there's the client version number, which updates, and then there's also like sometimes we just update the backend like data and code and whatnot, which is also a type of update. Those ones aren't generally associated with like version number increases in the client, but I could see people wanting to be notified when that sort of stuff happens too. Like on a Wednesday when like new adventures become available, players might want to know that has happened. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's probably more typically what they're seeing here than like the client itself not being up to date, because the data that they have is out of date.
Don't make it a continual pop-up. Oh, we were thinking we would just, every time it goes to save, we would just pop up in the middle of the screen. Your client's out of date, please reload. And then when you come back, you have to close 60,000 of those if you were farming.
60,000.
Is that not what people want? Because we implement things like that all the time.
Not on purpose. Okay. Next question here. This one is from Gunak23. Do we get a Split the Party 4 sometime? So looking for Adventure Party 5.
A fifth adventuring party. Seeker 30K says that's absolutely what we want. Bring it on. Wait a minute. Who of us is being more sarcastic? Anyway, Split the Party 4, yes. I think probably at some point we will do a fifth party. So Split the Party 4. I think we've kind of been, every time we get asked about this, we say we're delaying it because we want to make sure that the kind of existing parties and offline progress and background progress and that stuff all works. And I think, for the most part, it's probably working better now than it ever has been in the past. There's still issues. I'm not saying it's perfect. But I think more parties could be an option at some point. It's not in the immediate plans, but I could see definitely at some point. I don't want to give any sort of date because I don't have any sort of date. But
yeah, you probably promised it for 2022. So
yeah, right after the speed blog. All
right. On to questions from this week. And the first question out of the gate today was from Garwar, asking, why doesn't Esmeralda have a pirate skin? She's perfect for one.
I think a better question is, why doesn't Esmeralda have a pirate skin yet? So I think I could see Esmeralda doing a pirate skin. I think we're starting to look at kind of theming the event, sort of the skins that come out during events around a certain thing, and I know we did a couple of pirate skins recently, but I could see doing another batch of pirate skins.
And then I think a batch of clown skins. That would be good. With balloons. Like
sure.
Balloon animals.
Yeah, for like it's like some sort of horror month.
Yes, horror clowns.
Ah!
It'll be in October, Halloween special. Okie dokie. Next question. This is from Randram. Is there any reason that the design shift of making champs not have pre-stacks, but every item and feat forced to $upgrade index, making them effectively pre-stack, but it's harder to calculate externally with broken power levels? It says the default index parameter is perfectly fine. No reason to stop using it for like Alder.
So
All right, you're going to have to explain that
well,
to
I mean,
me and to them.
I don't 100% know. Like, my understanding of, and this is sort of digging into the actual data that runs the champions, the effect system behind the scenes. And I'm not an expert on it, but my understanding is the sort of the index after the upgrade ID doesn't necessarily have anything to do with pre-stack or post-stack. That's defined elsewhere in the data, and the default index parameter just describes what the default index is if there's no index included. But yeah, I mean, having that comma 0 on there, so specifying the index on the upgrades, I don't think, it doesn't really do anything to pre-stack. It just specifies which effect the buff upgrade is applying to. If it's default 0 and they put in the comma 0, there's no difference there in how the system treats it. So I don't know. It could just be a different developer set up the effects for the particular champion that you're looking at. And so, yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is from Fewer Pills, asking, please check the list of champions with/without the debuff roll again. Narak gets keep points from his alt and uses them to debuff. Debuffer roll. Alindra debuffs with her alt directly. No debuffer roll. That doesn't even make sense in the slightest. What the hell, Justin?
Yeah,
it's
so
not
I mean,
over yet. There's more.
Okay.
Enderluck made a good suggestion in the Discord channel as to who should get the role.
Yeah, so the debuff role is a tough one for the design team to kind of figure out what should apply and what should not apply. There are a lot of champions who, as part of their ultimate ability, just cause enemies to take more damage for a certain amount of time from all attacks, and we did not want those ones to be included in the debuffer role because it would just expand the debuffer role to a whole bunch of people who don't have debuffing as a core part of their kit. So we kind of ignored ultimates specifically and focused more on just formation abilities. And so the reason that Narak has the debuff thing is because it's one of his formation ability that is powered by key points, yes, so it's powered by stuff you do in his ultimate, but so is the rest of his kit. And that's why he's got the debuffer role, and someone like, who is this, Alindra does not. So yeah, it was a very specific kind of way that we did that. And yeah, there's some comments here. So like, doesn't Regis have a debuff, but not the debuffer role? Regis was a tough one for us because he causes champions to do more damage or more enemies to take damage from champions with a certain attack type. It's kind of synonymous, like it's kind of a buff, kind of a debuff. We decided not to do that because Regis doesn't actually take any specific action to apply those debuffs. That was another part that we wanted to kind of focus on, is that a champion needed to take a specific action as part of their kit to apply a debuff. There are some cases where we kind of smudged that a little bit, but it was a little bit. Yeah, it's a tough one. We were trying to balance sort of between the champions that had the role and the champions that had debuffing as like a core part of their kit, and not having too many champions that had the role such that it didn't really mean anything. I think if we were to put the debuffer role on anyone who at any point applied any sort of damage increase to a monster, then we would run into cases where there's just like it would just diminish what that role is. So, yeah, spec-based, the one about Gromma. Gromma maybe could like get it when you choose a specific spec. The other sort of place where we wanted to, where we specifically looked at champions was if there's a champion who has a spec that adds a debuff, but it's a choice and maybe not necessarily like a core part of what they're going to do, then we didn't necessarily put that on there. I do think debuffer functions a little bit differently from kind of gold and speed and tanking and other ones like that, where it's a little bit more easily defined. I do think that it is harder to define the debuff role in a way that applies uniformly across all champions than other roles.
Okay. I mean, is this something that potentially some of these are going to get revisited in the future, or is
potentially, if there's, I mean, if a good argument is made for why a champion should be a debuffer, then sure. But we kind of have a set of rules that we evaluated each champion with when we were deciding which champions would get the debuff role. And it's possible we can, reevaluate specific champions using those rules. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we do have our parameters internally.
Well, then we'll just have to wait and see. Next question. This one is from Mad Pickle. Just going to let that sink in. Can we add full dismantle to one or two of the flex slots in the event? For example, a free one or a supporter slot. It will allow players who overinvested in a champ that they are no longer using to use the resources elsewhere and promote the formation building goal of the game instead of locking players with whomever they have invested into. Not to mention that in seasons we had 5 full dismantles every 8 to 13 weeks, and now with Events 2.0, we only get 1 per month.
Yeah, so I mean, my first, the TLDR on this is no. No, we're not going to do more dismantles. I mean, if I could go back in time, honestly, and find some other solution to the Ashara issue back in the day that was not a dismantle, I would do that. I don't think dismantles are good for the game. I think giving out too many of them encourages a really quite extreme min-maxing meta where you're kind of just moving your equipment and items and levels and whatnot around from champion to champion willy-nilly. And I don't really like that. It's one of the reasons why I want to try and find another way to do legendaries so that we can get rid of the legendary dismantles. Because it's just, I don't like that level of micromanagement. And I think if we have the option to do those dismantles, people are going to feel obligated to do them, which just leads to more of that min-maxing, which is, I mean, min-maxing is something we do want to support in the game. We want players to be able to really maximize their damage on a given formation, but it's just, I don't want it to be, there's just 10 champions, and when you grow sick of one and you rotate it out, you trash that one and just replace another one. It just doesn't lead to interesting gameplay for me. The game becomes dismantling rather than actually finding unique formations and unique solutions to the problems.
Okay. Next question. Hopefully this is not a slow drawn out question. We've been having a lot of slow drawn out questions here. Let's have something with a better, not better, but
better answer.
More exciting answer. Sorry, I feel like you said a
better
lot of
answers.
no. You got a lot of no. We need some yes.
Okay, well this one's a yes.
All right, perfect.
Well, it's a maybe.
This is from Fewer Pills, and they would like to know, why does Esmeralda not have the speed roll? She spawns extra enemies who also transform into another enemy. Way more speed increase than other speed champions, for example, Vi and Minsk.
That's a very good question. I think that Esmeralda could potentially gain the speed roll. That was something, having the fog enemies, the fog things, and then those fog things turn into enemies was something we added sort of after we determined what roles we were shooting for with Esmeralda's rework. And I think we were so kind of focused on the debuffer stuff that we didn't really stop to consider whether or not that was a speed ability. It does sound like a speed ability, especially considering it is essentially the same as what Minx does for his speed ability. So, yeah.
All right.
I'm convinced on that one.
Next question. This is Meow Arf Moo, who would like to know, in the new character search select Jimmy Jammy, is there any option to click, or is there an option to just click to add rather than dragging each character down to the bottom bar?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last episode.
Yep.
As well. We are at this point trying to reserve that single click because the idea is that will eventually take you to the champion's profile dialog, once we've reworked it such that you can view any champion and not just ones that are on your bench currently. So yeah, we want to reserve that clicking for that mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we'll watch as this continues to get requested, and as as people get used to the new system there, and potentially consider a hotkey if it turns out that that's something that really is too much of an ask to drag. But yeah, like Justin says, we're going to reserve that for using click into the character screen, as well as it's an interface that we like to try and keep the interfaces as uniform across platforms as possible, which does make this one a tricky one on platforms like mobile and, well, I guess the console one has a double function. You click it and then you click it again with an internal button to assign it. But we'll keep watching that.
Yerp.
Next question. This one is from The Bard's Forge. The Bard's Forge. Wow. Will you please consider changing the % damage area event effects to be changed to a percentage of the champion's base health, not their total health, so that health increase abilities / potions, buffs, etc. don't kill you faster in those places?
Yeah, that's always been a bit of a funny thing.
Wait, would they kill you faster? They
Yeah,
just kill you
well,
at the
they
same
don't.
rate,
They don't
right?
kill you faster, but what happens is you can't out heal it as easily, because healing is sort of static, additive, kind of linear, I guess would be the thing. Healing is linear, but the damage is multiplicative from that. One of the things we've been trying to kind of address this lately is having heal or health increasing abilities, like abilities on tanks that increase the health of everyone else by 25%. We've been trying to also tie a healing component to that so that the healing is also increased by 25%. Obviously, that is not applied to potions or blessings or perks or stuff like that at this point. But it could very well be something that we go and do, so that basically whenever you get health increases, you get proportional healing increases, which I think would address this in a better way than doing it as a percentage of champion's base health, which I think would just make a lot of these adventures and variants too easy. So meteors falling from the sky are going to continue to do a percentage of health, but we might just make it a little bit easier to heal through that.
All right. Next question. This is from Dion Lander. Previous champions that can add their favorite foes to wave spawns haven't worked on boss stages before, but Esmeralda's ability doesn't have that same restriction. Is this an intentional difference?
No, that sounds like a bug. I'm
Okay.
going to highlight that one, and we will get that assigned and see what's going on.
Which way is the bug? That Esmeralda's not supposed to, or the others are supposed to?
Esmeralda would not be supposed to, yeah. Generally, anything that spawns extra enemies is not supposed to work in boss areas. Spawns extra enemies or messes around with enemies.
Okay, good to know. Next question. This actually wasn't 100% sure which section Garwar was referring to, but the question is, and this was from Garwar, the old collection used to show a shiny or golden border around item slots to signify gilding. So I guess this would be the old collection dialogue.
The old collection dialogue, yeah.
The new collection doesn't seem to have any reference to gilding at all. Is that something I'm overlooking, or is it something you still need to figure out how to add? Do we not show the gilding on the
In the
that
equipment
seems like
panel?
that would be a huge
Yeah, maybe we don't.
oversight.
Because we kind of switched to having the border be...
The border's the minimum rarity.
We'll look into that. I think that might just be an oversight.
In equipment, you do not, he says.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds like an oversight.
Well, Peter's not going to be happy that most of this
Oh,
document
no.
is yellow.
Adding to the list. All right. Next question. This is from Anime Watcha. So first stream.
Welcome.
Their question is, if it hasn't already been answered, now let's check this first before we ask it. Can Dirge get a custom Origins feat to pretty much add a stack to other champions' race, gender, class abilities?
Yeah, so yeah, this is an interesting question. I think the reason this is being asked is that it's actually very hard to get the Dark Urge to 4 folk hero stacks. Potentially, I believe it is impossible doing like a full absolute adversaries formation. And one of the kind of things we were hoping would happen with the Raven Guard is that there would be a way to do that. It doesn't look like we managed to make that happen. There's just not quite the right class race combinations available there. So yeah, something that maybe changed Dark Urge to human, I think, would do the trick, at least according to Mars's comment here. So it's probably something that we'll end up doing. We do want, I think, Dark Urge to be able to get to max folk hero stacks in a full absolute adversaries formation. So yeah, down the road, I think that's something we could do.
Okay. Next question. This is from Fewer Pills. Why is Duke Ravenguard's Tier 4 event reward 1 singular legendary potion, level 3, and Dadius had 3? Feels disappointing to have such a low reward for completing the completely new Champions Tier 4.
Yeah, I am not sure what's going on there. I will take a look and see if that was supposed to be 3. And it just got put in wrong.
It was supposed to be level 3, but it got set to 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to take a look at that one. I do recall when Dadius had the 3, we were looking at that and being like, is that too many? And I think my answer was no. But
1 might be too few.
But 1 is definitely too few. So yeah, I'll take a look at that. And if we were to bump that up, we would likely put in some sort of auto credit for people who have already finished it.
Okay. Next question. Well, we've just been going through every question here, basically not skipping anything. I'm sure we'll skip something. At any rate, the next question here is from Rough Rider 1995, and they would like to know, since Narak's ult has been identified as an accessibility unfriendly, and Cini has been a known champion for this concern, why has nothing been done to adjust this mechanic, despite the repeated requests from the community?
Yeah, so I do have some designs, and we've talked about this on the channel. Like, we do have some thoughts on how we could potentially fix this. I've been waiting to kind of see how Narak has settled out in terms of usage and whatnot. And we've also had a whole bunch of other things that the dev team's been working on, so we haven't gotten around to implementing any of those. And I think I mentioned on last week's episode, or maybe the week before, that we were kind of considering potentially doing something a little bit more drastic to it, rather than just trying to kind of band-aid it. So that's why. It's just been something that we've been kind of thinking about. It's one of those things that's on the second of my 4 priority lists.
That's the one that's getting replaced with like the Beat Saber style VR mod.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure I saw that.
We saw that suggestion from the Discord.
Yeah, we really liked that.
Sorry, not suggestion. Nightmare. Somebody posted in the Discord. Yeah, Dave's been working on the VR
for sure.
Beat Saber Narak ult for a little while now.
Yeah, I definitely think when I sitting looking at this particular question, it is definitely one of those cases where we have a list of things. As long as my arm, this arm, my left arm, my right arm, Justin's left arm, his right arm, his right leg. I don't know. We got a long list of items that we want to get to, and we really do have to prioritize based on sort of how many players they impact. And we also look at them based on whether they're quality of life improvements or it's a bug fix or it's a new feature and that sort of thing. And I think this one has definitely been one that's pushed down the list because it is, while not the nicest it's definitely not the best well-received feature. It's not a bug per se, and I'm not sure what the usage is on that, but
Narak's, I mean, He's decent if you have a whole bunch of stacks, but it's hard. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to get those stacks and keep those stacks up. It's the keeping those stacks up, which is the main thing that makes it super annoying.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's one of those cases where, with as many items as we have on the list, it hasn't been one that's been prioritized, and I don't think it is currently prioritized. So.
No, it's on the list, but it's not at the top of the list. As I say, it's on my it's not. I've got 4 priority lists. I've got ASAP, high, medium, and low.
ASAP,
and,
like the server is down ASAP?
ASAP is like...
Or is that like one higher than ASAP?
ASAP is things like, hey, Dupuy needs 12 feats for text lock on Thursday and it's Wednesday. That sort of thing. So it is on my high priority list, the looking over Narak, the Briv skip, all that stuff. It's just, stuff just piles onto the ASAP list before I can get too far down the high priority list. So
yeah,
that's where it is.
Which is that above or below the 9 jump?
That's on the high priority list. It's right around the same place.
Okay. Looks like it's giveaway time, Justin.
Is it? Oh my gosh. Oh, the giveaway is ready to run. Sorry, I was scrolled down looking at future questions. Looking into the future. Ooh. Okay, so it is time for our stream.
It was Tuesday for Friday.
Hey, Chris, go back. Don't
go back to work.
Don't watch me saying slightly false things about your timelines. Anyway, it's giveaway time. Chris, you're not eligible. Chance to win 42 gold chests of your choice. The way it works, if you haven't been here before, all you have to do is look for a keyword in chat that will appear very shortly, and copy and paste that keyword back into chat, and that will enter you for a chance to win 42 chests of your choice. It can be any type of chest that exists. Any type of chest, except for Gloria Bahama chests.
Can it be a morning cloak chest?
Sure.
What about a painted lady chest?
Okay.
A black swallowtail chest?
Uh-huh.
What about a zebra swallowtail chest? A spring azure?
Flowers, no. Oh, no? There we go. T5 cats, I think, got it. These types of butterflies?
They are types of butterflies.
Types of butterflies. I think that was the fastest anyone's ever gotten it.
I know. I've got a whole bunch of items still on my list here.
I'll keep going.
Well, I have to keep going. It's too late.
I want you to name more butterflies.
Common checkered skipper.
Oh, yeah.
A Delaware skipper. Well, actually, they're done in order here. Common sooty wig butterfly.
Sooty wing?
Yeah, sooty wing.
So is it sooty wig or sooty wing?
Sooty wing.
Okay.
A Mormon metal mark.
Huh. All right.
Palmer's metal mark.
Oh.
Fatal metal mark.
Wow. Is there a Justin metal mark in there? Do I get a butterfly named after me?
I don't think so.
Oh, no, that's it.
No, that's where this list ended.
There's only 18 types of butterflies, people. That's what we've learned from this.
On this list?
What specifically is this list? Oh, 10 types of butterflies.
That says 18
sorry,
types.
18 types of, I only looked at the first number. All home gardeners should know.
That's what it says.
I do like to garden at my home, so I should...
of course, I figured the first one was going to be a giveaway, so I didn't go with the monarch to start.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
let's carry on.
Good luck to everyone on the giveaway. We've wasted enough time talking about butterflies.
Right, next question. The next question is from Emote, asking, could we please get a way to trade pigment types? We have so very few of the non-support pigments.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if we would do a way to kind of like an apothecary for pigments, a painting supply store. I don't know, a craft store.
Yeah.
It does feel like a lot of the kind of excitement from pigments comes from the exclusivity and comes from the rarity of them. I don't know about being able to trade them.
You can just do a standard 4-to-1 trade, unless you've got like one of the ports and the port, like you have the 2 to question. Port.
Pigments of Catan here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you have a DPS port? Oh, well then you can trade your DPS pigments 2-to-1.
Yeah, I think that's totally
Dave,
fair.
people are now asking for butterfly and or Mothra skins for champions who have wings.
That would be great, actually.
Didn't we do
I think
that?
that's
I'm
a good
pretty
idea.
sure we have at least one champion who we did like a butterfly
Or like fairy
skin
wings or something?
Yeah. I think we did.
Anyway,
Yeah,
probably no trading.
probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere down there. Yeah, Lucius has the wings like a butterfly in one of their skins. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. This one is also from a moat. Since Otter Ravengard has feats for his...
Otter.
That's what it says.
I know.
Otter. I read them like I read them. I don't
Reads
know.
them like he sees them?
Yeah, a whale biologist of some sort. Anyway, since Otter Ravengard has feats for his position of power, the ability that boosts the melee positionals, and even Orkira has one for Watchful Order, could Solark get some for his critical mass? He doesn't have any.
Yeah, yeah, I guess some explanation here of this question. So we have 3 champions who are essentially build-arounds for certain attack types. So Ulcoria was the first one we did. She's kind of a magic attack type build-around. Solak is a ranged attack type build-around. And Ulder, Duke Ravengard, was a melee build-around, or is a melee build-around. So if you want to use a lot of melee champions, Ulder is a good choice because he's got a lot of cool things that buff melee abilities, or buff the abilities of melee champions, I should say. Yeah, it does seem like Solak not having any feats for critical mass is probably an oversight. But as I've said before, generally the point at which we reevaluate feats for individual champions is when we look at them for a rework. So like we reworked Esmeralda and we added a whole thwack of feats for her. The champions that we are reworking in the next few months, we're also adding a whole thwack full of feats for them. So I would expect Solak to get this feat in one of 2 ways. One is we would get to the point of doing a rework for Solak, or 2, Solak would appear in like an emergence or a celebration event or something like that, and we could potentially do a feat for him then. So those are the 2 kind of situations where that feat might appear. I'm not against adding a feat for that. It's just unlikely to be like a one-off on the side unless he was associated with one of those other things.
All right. Where were we? There we are. Next question. This is from Garwar. The single healing pigment in the game states that it has this effect. Increases the effect of healing on all champions by 100%. Does that mean all healing done when someone with this pigment is in the group is boosted by 100%? Or does it mean that the healing done by the champion with that pigment is boosted by 100%?
I believe that it is the former. So the effect of healing effects on all champions in that formation are increased by 100%.
That's how I would read it.
That is
how it
I believe that is sort of the intention for it. Similar to how, like, if there was a pigment that increased the health of all champions by 100%, that would apply to all champions in that formation and not just to the champion that the pigment is on. So I think the use of all champions there applies that it does apply all champions.
Yes. Now the part of the question that's left out is what appears to be happening.
I don't know.
Yes. Well,
I do know that initially the healing pigment did not apply to temporary health effects, so shields and stuff like that. But we did fix that, so it does. But I assume that it is the mouse over for the pigment in the inventory. The chosen equipment will also increase the healing done by its champion by 100%.
Its champion.
Well, that is different from what the other effect is. All right, I will take this to dev and double check.
Okie dokie.
Always fun when there's contradicting information like that.
Next
really
question.
makes me very happy.
I can tell. I'll hear all about it after. Next question. This is from Fewer Pills. Could you check Nally's Githyanki feat? It is currently not working very well.
Great. I love it.
She only counts as Githyanki and not Gith in general, which is way more used for things like folk hero.
Yeah, we can look into
Do we
that.
have 2 tags on that?
No, okay, so there's 2 like races, sub-races of Gith. There's the Gith Yankee and the Gith Zerai. And I believe we have 1 of each potentially in the game. So we added like a Gith kind of subtag to hold both of them.
Yep.
But it sounds like the Gith Yankee feat did not add the Gith tag, just the Gith Yankee. So I will flag that, and I think that hopefully that will be. There's separate legendaries for Gith and Gith Yankee. Oh my god!
Now,
all right, hopefully
serious
that'll
question. You sure it's not pronounced Gith Yankee?
That is not a serious question.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll look into that. Dang.
I know.
You're supposed to wait till the end of the episode to say things like that.
I don't know. Just
The Gith that keeps on githing.
Oh
Yes.
dear. Next question. This one is from Daliander. I said this totally fine earlier.
Danelander.
Danelander. All right, we'll go with that. Any progress on checking if adding an option of holding off Modron resets for Briv stacks would be easy enough to implement? Yeah, I think we've talked about this a number of times now.
No progress, but
it's still sort of hung by that sort of drawback that we want to. If something like this feels really awkward to have by itself on the Modron reset dialogue, it seems like there's potential for a handful of things that would make sense to be more sort of advanced reset features. Mm-hmm. But what those are and how they kind of fit together in a new section on the reset dialogue or on the Modron config dialogue. Yeah, it needs a lot of thought, I think. And as aforementioned on some of the other features like this, it's definitely not on Justin's high priority list.
It's not on the high priority. This one, I think I actually copied this one into the to be sorted onto a list.
Oh no.
So I guess there's 5 lists, okay? There's the ASAP, high, medium, low, and to be sorted. Yeah. Oh, there's so many lists.
Okay. Next item. This is from, or not item, question. This is from Garwar. Since we have a Cryon Knight Warden skin that is them before they were corrupted, could we get a Warden feat that makes them lawful neutral to represent them back then as well?
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool, actually, to do a sort of Warden like skin slash feat. I don't know. I'm not necessarily the one who decides what feats and skins we do.
That's fair.
But
you can make strongly worded suggestions.
I can certainly pass this.
Is that how you do that?
Strongly worded suggestions.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Next question. This is from the Bard's Forge. Dobbs' ability, Busking, says he increases global gold find. Patrons have global buffs that affect every adventure. Does that mean he increases gold find in other parties, for example, background parties, or in your current party, if he's in the background? If not, then what does global gold find mean?
Yeah, this is a good question, and I think this comes down to kind of how individual developers write effect strings. So, whenever I'm describing global stuff, it generally just means the formation that the champion is currently in. We have very, very few champions who affect other parties in any way. We may not actually. I guess the only one is.
This is a confusing term because in the why is the word slipping my mind? The blessings. Yeah. Global means across all campaigns, so not just the one the blessings are.
Well, and there's a difference between how we use the word global when we're talking about an individual champion.
Right. So you mean global or do you mean global?
When we're talking about an individual champion versus like a blessing or a perk or something like that. So on individual champions, 99.9% of the time, their effects are only going to affect your current party unless it is explicitly called out that they will affect other parties, or unless there is a bug that somehow causes them to affect other parties. For patron perks, blessings, stuff like that. Modron cores will only apply to the party they're assigned to, but for blessings and perks and anything else like that, they will apply to all parties when they say global, unless they are specifically called out. So, I mean, for example, the local blessings only apply when you're on adventures for that favor, and the local patron perks only apply when you're on adventures with that patron. But they could apply to multiple parties if you have multiple parties on, that favor adventure or on that patron, on adventures for that patron. So, 99.9% of the time, I guess the answer is champion abilities only apply to their party. It's probably more like 99.999% of the time. Like there's one that applies across, and I actually think we got rid of that one because I think that one was just was Strongheart.
And I think realistically, the reason this is the way that it is because for the first several years of the game's existence, it didn't have multiple parties, and so global always meant to everyone in the current party because there was no global that was beyond that.
Yes, that's true. Once we got into the multiverse,
which is why it also still made sense to have it for the blessings because global applied to every campaign, whereas the non-global ones applied just to that campaign.
Yeah.
Now, despite that being the case, it is actually a little confusing now that I've thought about it with the multi-party, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think we'd have to go back and add another term. I think
we'd have to go back and edit
current
everything.
Party blessing or
increase. We'd have to explicitly, I think, call it out in all parties.
And it probably applies, like the word global in terms of applying to buffs like that is probably in a lot of places.
It's in a lot, and it may very well be in effect strings that are used in both cases, right? So it may be in ones that are used for champions as well as are used for like a blessing string or something like that.
Yeah, it could be a tricky one to attempt to change. I probably wouldn't attempt to change that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dob affects multiple parties? No, he doesn't. The whole point of what I said was he doesn't. T5 cats don't.
Okay, let's have another question. This is from Higman, asking how are the chances for a rework of Black Viper before the next Fleet's Wake?
Black Viper has come up on our list of champions that we'd like to take a look at reworking. I'm not sure if she's going to make it onto the finals list of that, but she's definitely one that we are considering.
Okay.
The chance is between 0 and 100%. No, it's bigger. It's bigger than 0% because they are being considered for a rework, but it's less than 100% because we have not yet assigned them to one of our rework slots.
All right.
Oh, the next champ. What's going on here?
I know you're out of practice at asking questions, but go ahead, give it a shot,
that's
Justin.
all the time we have for
see if you can pronounce that name. It's a little bit of a tricky one.
This next one is from Garawar, who says, that's how it's actually supposed to be pronounced. You've been pronouncing it wrong for years.
Right.
Garaware asks, in the new champion hover tooltips, we see the base attack type via a symbol in the bottom left of the portrait. Can we also get some new symbols to denote whether the base attack is single target, AoE, or multi-hit? That's important information that we'd rather not have to open every champion to figure out.
Sure. Yeah, we can update the icon.
I guess we just figure that out because I know we don't tag it in any way. So we'd have
if it's listed internally,
check it programmatically in the actual attack effect.
Jarrett likes a challenge. I'll tell him it's demanded of him.
My only concern would be that it would not be 100% reliable if it had to reach into the attack and sort of try to deduce exactly how many targets there are.
Well,
but
I will ask him to try.
We can always give it a try.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Thanks, Jarrett, says Chaos.
This is also from Garwar.
Garwar, yeah.
Since Nerds is a joke champion, which when I read that the first time, I was like, it's a joke champion? What a rude thing to say. But no, I understand. Since Nerds is a joke champion, can you please lower the gem cost to 1,000 gems so that new players can at least have fun with them early on in the game before benching them? Unless pricing them at 100,000 gems is the joke.
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, Nerds is technically, technically they're a meta champion at this point. Like, there are people who literally use that champion as a best in slot in some formations. I don't know about lower. This is like literally the first time I've thought about this. So you're just basically getting a stream of consciousness from me, which is not always the best thing to get from me.
We did get feedback on that, yeah.
As evidenced by the last 127 episodes of Dev Insights. But my feeling is we want people to kind of be more focused on getting those event champions than using a bunch of candy riding around in a minecart. Yeah, I mean, Mars here is saying you could always institute an alternate unlock condition. So I mean, yeah, we could add a secondary unlock condition, like you must have, X other champions or something like that. I don't know necessarily that having them be like something that new players can unlock in the first week or so is something we'd want to lean towards.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly it raises the question of like, I mean, it sets the tone. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. It is 2:52. We probably have time for maybe 2 more questions, maybe 3 if we're quick.
2:52. We're so close to it being 2 to the power of 8 o'clock.
That's true.
Hashtag callback.
This next question is also from Garwar. Duke Ravengard's slot 5 item buffs his ultimate attack damage, but his ultimate damage is 25 seconds of Bud-based damage based on him attacking or the party being attacked. We see no value actually listed in the in-game to verify if this item is even working. Is it supposed to boost the Bud-based damage?
Yes, it's supposed to boost the Bud-based damage.
Okay.
I will highlight that, and we will make sure that that is A, actually happening, and B, displayed that it is happening.
Yes. Okay.
The next question here, the second to last question is, or maybe the last question, depending on how long it takes me to ask this question and for you to answer it.
And how long it takes you to explain
how long it takes
might take you a long time to answer.
That is from OG17, or sorry, OG17, you've been pronouncing it wrong. They say the new swap menu uses a new set of flat pips that are harder to see than the benches-based square ones, but at the same time, the new ones show gilding better than the old. Can the new style be given to the old shape and then have that be used in both places? Or if you don't want to tweak it, can the new one still be used for both? Having 2 formats is strange, and they're right next to each other.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair statement that they are right next to each other when you bring up the swap. Definitely, we were looking to make something when we modified them for the new swap panel. We wanted something that fit the new style, as well as took up a little bit less space. Yeah, it's like 20% less space, maybe a little bit more.
I'm literally just doing what we did to them.
Yeah, we shrunk them down. I do agree that you can read the gilding better. I know Jarrett was looking at them, at the 2 of them, both at 720p, and at 720p it was nearly impossible actually to read the other ones, so I know that one was a pretty big improvement. I don't think it would be our plan to move back to the old size because we did shrink them. We made them a little flatter on purpose, but it is possible that we could put the new ones onto the portraits or onto the main bar so that everything matches. Depending on how that looks, and we have to take a look at it first. Maybe this just leads. What's this like swallowing this platoon? One change leads to another change, leads to another change. We're gonna have to redo the whole bottom bar.
Yeah, do you ever see that cold open to Malcolm in the Middle, where the wife asks the dad to go and change the light bulb in the room, and like he goes to like open the door to the garage to get a light bulb, and it squeaks. So he goes to get like some oil, and then he goes to open the drawer to get the oil, and the drawer breaks, and then like. This leads like 10 times down to 10 more tasks, and the wife comes home and like everything's falling apart, and she's like, "I just asked you to change the light bulb," and he's like, "I am." Anyway,
I liked it better in Breaking Bad.
We want to do one last question?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's get this last question done.
The last question here is from Garware, who asks, in Champion
They're really
Search...
not going to be happy with you.
He can take it. In Champion Search, there is only a left-hand slider for equipment. Can we get a right-hand slider as well, so we can search for champions with lower than X rarity? This helps in making decisions for time gates and patron chests buying/opening. So basically, like on all of the stat ones, you can like set a range for it.
This is
but
a
with
limited
the
range.
equipment one, you can only set the minimum rarity.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is something that we could put in. I mean,
I feel like it is too.
like that's not a bad reasoning for having it. I do like, I definitely do like to see good use cases provided when asked for some of this stuff, and I actually think that's a perfectly reasonable request. I like it. I'll tag it.
Great,
This doc is
fantastic.
full.
Spoiler alert for people who are sending in suggestions. If you can provide a very compelling use case,
We're more likely to,
we're more likely to consider it.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of true. Like we talk about the Briv skip stuff, and it's there is a good use case for that. We just have to find a way to do it. Anyway,
It doesn't decrease the odds.
it doesn't decrease
It increases
the odds. That's
them.
true.
Yeah.
Nothing but increase. Anyway, it does look like we're out of time. So
That's true.
if we didn't get to your question this week, don't fret. You will have another opportunity. We will be live again next week, I believe, unless it's a holiday. No, we'll be live again next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. I should probably close this comment here about apparently they're quite tired. This week it was Mars and Gabe. They're the folks who copy your questions into the questions doc so that we can answer them and keep things awesome in chat.
Yeah, and of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
That's true.
We want to keep doing it.
That's it. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Ciao.
We got a good one today, Justin.
Oh dear.
So, I was at the beach earlier, and I heard a man in the water. He was yelling, "Help! Shark! Help!" And I just laughed, because I knew that shark wasn't going to help him.